Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Kath and this channel is Keto by Keto Kath, and it's all about my weight loss journey to lose 56 pounds. So far today I've lost 50 pounds and I'm doing a little video because I know what I'm doing. I've been doing keto for 6 months now, exactly 6 months today. It's the 27th of June I started and today is the 27th of December. And I want to share my top 10 tips so that if anybody's thinking of doing keto in the new year, these should help you achieve your goals and help you along your way. And these are things that I found really useful. So I've lost 50 pounds in 6 months, which is an enormous amount of weight to lose. And I've called this video New Year, New You, New to Keto, my top 10 tips for success. And you can be successful on this diet, and I'm hoping these tips will help you along your way. So my very first tip and my number one tip for you all is keep a journal. Start a journal today. If you joined Slimming World, Weight Watchers, I used to do Rosemary Conley years ago, the first thing you get is a welcome pack with your little book in to keep your weights in. You can put your measurements in it, lots of recipes, lots of choose this, choose that for breakfast, have one of these for lunch. It's packed full of things to help you along the way. On keto, you're on your own. You've got to do all your own research. You can buy books about keto, but you've got to get all that stuff together. So start putting your little tool bag together, because that's what they are. They're tools to help you on your way when you join Slimming World or Weight Watchers. And you need to create your own tool bag. So start a journal. I'll show you what I've got. I have 3. I have a planner, and I put in here, if I just show you, I plan my meals for the week, and I put what I hope and intend to eat that week, and then I know beforehand what I'm going to buy from my shopping list, and I know what I'm having that day, so I'm not going to go off plan. I also use this for measurements, and as I'm going along I update it, and I keep a record of how many inches I've lost, where I'm up to. I also have a little notebook that I jot down every day things that I've done. I've got loads of ideas. If I see a recipe, I'll scribble it in here. If I've had a good day, been out exercising, and write it in. I use this a lot for my videos to see how my week's progressed, but when I go through them, I think, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, that was a lovely recipe. I'll try that again. So they're all my thoughts. It's like more like a diary, a keto diary, that one. And then this one is my recipe book. When I find a recipe, I jog it down, I try it, and if I like it, I convert it into my own recipe book. So I've got, this book has got a section on breads, lots of keto crackers, breads. I've got a savoury section, and I've got a sweet section. So I keep my own and create my own recipe book for keto. So I've got tools that I can refer back to, and I'm building that little toolkit. So what I want you to do is get a journal. If you just start with one, and first of all write your reasons for doing the diet. And I've said this before in lots of videos, your reasons have to be really strong. What are your reasons? Because keto diet is a big change, you know, from eating carbohydrates. So you're going to have to make sacrifices, you're going to have to find alternatives. So the first thing you need to do is write your reasons down. So mine were health reasons. I was type 2 diabetic, and I'm now no longer type 2 diabetic. I'm now in the normal range. My blood pressure's come down. I had lots of health reasons for doing it. And weight loss as well. I was the biggest I'd ever been in my life. But what are your reasons? Write them down. What are your goals? What do you want to do? I can get in a size 10, but I wouldn't say I can get in a size 10 in every shop. So one of my goals is to get in a comfortable size 10. What are your dreams for yourself? Put them all at the front of this journal. Because you're going to face challenges. Keto, 2 to 3 weeks in, you're going to face challenges. You're going to get the carb cravings. Refer back to that front page in your journal. Remind yourself why you're doing it. And it will help you stay on track. Refer to it often. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. You know, in this journal, put in what your strengths are. I've realised that if I commit to something, I can do it. And I would have thought I was a failure because I failed so many times dieting, but now I know if I say I'm going to do it out loud or I write it down, I do commit to it now. I also know what my weaknesses are. My weaknesses is portion control. if I make something, even if it's a keto cheesecake, I know I cannot portion control. So this journal will help you learn, and it's a massive learning journey, keto, about yourself. And just remember, when you're feeling a bit weak, when you're feeling you might just fall off plan, that your excuses will never be as important as your dreams for yourself. So go back to that front page and remind yourself why you were doing it when you're feeling a little bit weak. I watch a channel called Go Keto with Casey, and she has a saying, and I'm going to quote it now, and I want you to write it in the front of your journal. I am stronger than a cookie. So when people say, oh, I just couldn't resist, yes, you can. You are stronger. All the things you've dealt with in your life, whether it be bereavements, falling out with friends, losing somebody, divorce, whatever, you are stronger. You're still here and you're still standing, so you can do this. And by putting those goals in black and white and writing them down, you're making a commitment to do them. So that's my number one hint and tip, is to get that journal going and start to build your toolkit. Okay, so let's move on to point number 2. Understand what ketosis is. So you've heard of the keto diet, or you might have heard of Weight Watchers or Slimming World. You go along and you get your little information pack. What's keto diet? What does that mean? Means your body is in a state of ketosis. And ketosis is a metabolic state. And basically, because of the lack of dietary carbohydrates, your body runs on carbohydrates for fuel. When you're eating carbohydrates, pasta, potatoes, bread, white rice, even brown rice, anything with carbohydrates, then your body will use those as fuel. In ketosis, because you're not giving it dietary carbs, it will use all your stored carbs up, and then it's got to find an alternative form of fuel. And your body, your liver, will start to metabolize your fat. So ketosis, and when it does that, it produces what's called ketones. So ketosis is a metabolic state where your body is using fat for fuel instead of carbohydrates. But just because you are in ketosis does not mean to say you will lose weight. It's looking for fat for fuel. If you eat enough fat on the keto diet, your body doesn't need to use your body fat. You are giving it enough dietary fat. So you have to, and we'll talk about measuring in a little while, you still have to measure like you would on another diet where you're portion controlling or you're weighing out. You have to be aware of what you're putting in your body. So although you can be in a metabolic state of ketosis, that does not guarantee weight loss unless you are taking in less fat than what your body needs. And then it's got to look to your body fat to burn your body fat for fuel. So ketosis is a metabolic state where your body is using fat for fuel. And what I would say then is, how do you know if you're in ketosis? Recognize the signs. So after about I got there within a week in ketosis, but some people it takes longer, and we'll talk about your approach on another step in a bit. But after about 2 weeks in general, you're usually in ketosis when you've used all your carbs up and you're taking lower carbs in and all your stores have gone, and you'll start to recognize the signs. All of a sudden you'll feel more energetic, you'll be more wide awake in the morning, and look for these signs, because if you ever fall off the wagon, you know when you're back in ketosis because of the way that you feel. And it's very hard to quantify, but it's an overall feeling of well-being. Almost like this is the way your body's supposed to run. You have more energy, you have clarity of thought. You think, oh, I'll do this, and your memory's better. You've not got that fog brain that you can get when you're running on carbs. Definitely high motivation and definitely more positivity. So it's a state of well-being is what I would explain as being in ketosis. So recognize when you are in ketosis, and again in your journal write down these positive things that you feel. And then the other thing to understand is how different foods affect you. So some artificial sweeteners, they don't tend to affect me, but some people stop losing weight when they're taking artificial sweeteners in. So understand how different foods affect you, and again, keep it in your journal so you know what to avoid and what to stick to. You can test. There are ways you can test that if you're in ketosis. The first thing is the pea sticks. You can buy them off Amazon, but they're not reliable long term. So what happens as soon as your body starts making ketones, you've got all these excess ketones and you pee them out. So you can do a pea stick and you can tell that you're producing ketones. When you're no longer taking carbs in, your body will use those ketones as fuel. So you'll pee less out. So a lot of people think they're not in ketosis because the pea sticks are not registering a high amount of ketosis. That's because your body's using them. So they're only reliable short term whilst you're getting into ketosis. There are breath monitors you can buy and it will measure your ketone levels. There are blood glucose monitors that will also do ketone checks on your actual blood. But I wouldn't bother investing in them until you know you're going to commit to this lifestyle long term, because they're expensive. You know, to do a ketone test on your blood's about £1 a strip. So it's not something you could be doing every single day. It's maybe once a week. But you don't need to invest in them. You will be guaranteed to be in ketosis if you eat very low carbs. So as long as your carbohydrates, and the recommended amount is 20 net grams a day. And what that means is you weigh your food and you work out what the grams of carbohydrate are, and you stay below 20. And if you do that, you are guaranteed to be in ketosis. And that comes down to tracking what you eat, which we'll come to in another point now. So understand what ketosis is, understand when your body is in ketosis, look for the signs, and then learn as you're going along through your journey how different foods affect you personally, because we are all different. So that's number 2. Okay, so point number 3, my third hint, is have a very clear understanding of what you can and can't eat. And I say you because different foods affect people's blood sugars in a different way. So research what are keto friendly foods. What you can eat on keto is a low carbohydrate. So you're looking at healthy green leafy vegetables. The more colourful and the more it goes towards the red end of the scale, the more sugars they've got in it. You can have a few berries like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, but a very, very low amount, and not necessarily every day. So low carb, moderate protein, so not piles and piles of meat. That is not keto. Everything needs to be very carefully managed and tracked and weighed. And high fat, but that doesn't mean to say you're going to stuff yourself with fat. You use it to cook with, you use it to make your food taste nice, like butter on your vegetables. And your fats, because they're very dense, you know, you find by cooking with them and by putting them, you will have reached your target for fat every day as well. So low carb, moderate protein, high fat. So what I suggest you do is meal plan for the week, or for the first 2 weeks, your favourite meals that you like to eat, and then work out how you can make them keto. So for example, as a family, we eat spaghetti bolognese. Now the mince, the tomato sauce, all the herbs and spices is absolutely fine. I probably wouldn't put too much onion in, maybe a little bit of green pepper rather than red peppers, because they've got more carbs in them. Whatever, you know, some mushrooms are fine. But rather than have spaghetti, we'd have courgette, and I'd use a spiralizer, make it look like spaghetti, and that would be my side. I make beef stews. It's winter time, it's nice to have a stew, but rather than potatoes, I swap those for radishes, and they just taste and look like potatoes in your stew. So write your favourite meals down and work out what you're going to have that it makes that adaptation to keto for that meal. Learn how to read labels. This is so important. Don't eat anything unless you understand what it is that you're putting in your body. So for example, I'll just show you some labels. I might just step behind the camera, then I can see if it's actually in focus. This label here, carbohydrates, 8.4 grams. It says of which sugars, and then you've got fibre there. In America, they subtract the fibre from the carbs. In the UK, it's already done. So this top figure here, carbohydrates, is what you go by. That is how many carbs you are having. Now that's per half a can. I think that's 8.4 in half a can, which means the whole of that can has 16 grams of carbs. Now I could use this to make bolognese or a chili with, and if it's for 4 people, that's 4 grams each. But if it's only for 2 people, that would be 8.5 grams of carbs. So you have to think very carefully about the ingredients that you're using. Same sort of thing, another tin of chopped tomatoes, and half a can, this one is 7.6 grams. So that's 2 grams less in the whole of the can. So, you know, just look. I find the lowest chopped tomatoes is actually Home Bargain's own brand. But just look at your cans and then learn to choose the lowest carbohydrate options that you can find, and then work out how many people are having it. So if there's 15 grams in the whole of this can and it's divided by 3, that's 5 grams of carbs already. It's a quarter of your daily allowance. Here I've got a tin of luncheon meat, which we fry off with breakfast with bacon and eggs. But if you have a look, per 1/5 of a can, it's 2.3 grams of carbs. So times that by 5, it's 10 grams of carbs in a tin of meat. Now you wouldn't think that, so it's got a lot of added sugar in it. Whereas a tin of tuna, if I show you this tin of tuna, don't know whether that's in focus, carbohydrates 0.5. Okay, and that's per 100 grams, and there isn't 100 grams in the tin. Where's the, oh yes there is, 112. So 0.5, so there's hardly any carbohydrates. So I can have that on a salad and the carbs are just the salad. I'm not looking, so you have to look at everything. You have to be very, very careful. Packet of ham, turn it over. So if you're having a ham salad or you're taking ham roll-ups where you put your filling in, carbohydrates per slice, 0.5 grams. So for every slice you have, you know, if you have 2, 3, 4 slices, that's 2 grams of carbs already. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to learn how to understand labels, because everything, even things like meat, have ham. This is my go-to snack. I get this from Tesco. They have biltong. What's the other one? The other one's got really high sugar, but each pack of this is only 1.4 grams of carbs and 100 calories. So if I'm out and about, this is sort of my crisp replacement. These last ages because they take ages to chew. But, you know, learn to read labels. It's really, really important. So a clear understanding of when you're making food, how many carbohydrates are in it. You're looking to stay under 20 a day. Meal plan, and start to build your keto in your journal. Your keto recipes, what meals work, you know, how many carbs are in them, and build up your knowledge. So we've all got different favourite foods. You know, there's not a pick one of these and pick one of those. You need to build this information for yourself, and it starts with understanding what you can eat, adapting what you like to eat accordingly to make it keto, and start to look at labels on packets and add absolutely every half a gram of carb up. Staying under that 20 grams is going to be what gets you into ketosis and keeps you there. But that's how carbs can sneak into your diet. And sometimes people say, I'm not losing weight and I'm following my diet. But you know, half a can of tomatoes is 8 grams. That's how, and you could think, oh, there's only 10 tomatoes, so I won't count that. So you've got to be really, really careful. You have to track everything. So a clear understanding of what you can and can't eat is my hint and tip number 3. So my next and number 4 hint and tip is, and it can be a bit controversial, so if this isn't for you, skip past this one, is to get into ketosis as fast as you can. Now, if you want to take the slower approach where you drop maybe sugar in your drinks one week and then you stop eating bread the next week, if that's the approach you want to take, that's fine. You know, slow but steady isn't a race. But for me, I went cold turkey. I wanted to be in ketosis as fast as I can and know that my body was burning fat for fuel. So hint number 4, if you want to get into ketosis as fast as you can, this is what you need to do. you need to make sure your carbs are really low. So eat the lowest carb vegetables. And again, I am doing a video on what to eat, and I will list the vegetables that are really, really low carb. And burn your reserves off. So exercise will help. So even if it's just going out for a walk, go out and help burn off those stored carbs that are in your body, because it can take quite a few days to burn them all off. But I wanted to get into ketosis, and I achieved this by about day 5 of the diet. Now, the thing about getting into ketosis, and if you've never switched from being a carb burner to a ketone burner before, there is a process that your body goes through, and it can actually make you feel a bit crap. So the first 2 weeks, you've got to be prepared. You may not feel great. You've got to go through that process. It's called the keto flu. It can totally be avoided by taking electrolytes, which I'll come on to in another point in a minute. But keto flu, you feel absolutely fatigued, lethargic, no energy for anything. You just don't feel quite right. And in fact, you can feel a bit sickly. To keep it at bay, you must take your electrolytes, and I'll explain what they are in a minute. But basically it's because your body's losing all this. You get a whoosh, you'll be on the toilet all the time, peeing it all out. You've got to replace your fluids, you've got to replace your body salts. It's so we've been taught, oh, keep your salts low. Not on keto. You've got to take your salts, or else that will make you feel bad. So get into ketosis, be prepared for the keto flu. If you start to see the signs, you've got to take some salt, and I'll talk about electrolytes and how to avoid those in a minute. But yeah, if you want to get into ketosis fast, exercise, eat the lowest carb veg you can in the first week or 2. You'll know when you're there. You will know, because you'll start to feel the energy when you've gone through that process. But you might not feel great. You're gonna get the carb cravings, and you've got to deal with them. My thing for that is have something to do. Be prepared. Put it in your journal when you get the carb cravings, what you're going to do, and have something that you're going to go away and do. Whether it be have a bath, ring a friend, take the dog for a walk, but you've got to deal with those and not fall off the wagon, so be prepared for them. But yeah, my approach, get into ketosis as fast as you can. It's not for everybody, and if you want to take it slower, that's absolutely fine. But if you do it slower, it may be easier for you to adjust your diet, but if you want to be burning fat, then do it fast. So hint number 5, be disciplined in taking your electrolytes. I've just mentioned electrolytes can make you feel like if you don't take them, you've got what's called the keto flu. You have to be disciplined. You can have keto flu at any point in your journey, not just when you're first going into ketosis and your body's adapting. If you do not take electrolytes, you will feel generally ill. Headaches, nausea, tiredness at any point when you're in ketosis. So you have to be disciplined in taking them. Now, you can get your electrolytes from putting pink Himalayan salt or sea salt on your food. A little bit of low salt will give you potassium. I take a magnesium tablet at night. I find it easier, because I do take medication in the morning anyway. I just find it easier. I take some tablets, Electrolyte Plus. I take a couple of those in the morning, and then on top of that, I salt my food. So this gives me electrolytes, and then I add the salt to the food, and I find that suits me fine. You might find you need more salt. It all depends on, again, we're all different. So make sure you're disciplined in taking your electrolytes. You can make an electrolyte drink if you don't want to buy tablets. It's very, very simple. It's 1/4 teaspoon of pink salt, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, pinch of low salt. Now the low salt is potassium. That's where you can get your potassium from. Bit of lemon juice to just take that acidity away from the vinegar, and then top it up with water and sip on that all day, and that will give you your electrolytes. It's not for me. I don't like the taste. I can't disguise the vinegar in it. So I just find it easier to take the tablets, but you have to be disciplined. So again, in your journal or in your daily routine, if you're taking tablets in the morning, put some electrolytes with them, or I have a little measuring cup that I sometimes take apple cider vinegar in, put that with my tablets, and I remember to do it. So put a process in place that will make you take or deal with your electrolytes. You have to be disciplined in doing that, and don't be afraid to salt your food. You'll get some electrolytes from the salt. You can cook with the salt. You know, it all helps keep salt levels up, because when you're washing and you're getting rid of a lot of your carbs and water, you know, you're losing a lot of salt, so you do need to replace them. And salt is really important to avoid constipation. If you're not taking enough salt and water, you can get constipated on the diet, so you need to up your salt and your water as well. So electrolytes, hint number 5, you've got to be disciplined, so build that into your plan. Number 6, cut out the snacks. Possibly this should be number 1, and I think this is my biggest change to helping me lose the weight. If you're a carb eater, you're probably constantly snacking. You probably have breakfast, mid-morning snack, lunch, snack in the afternoon, evening meal, and then snack at night. And if that's you, this is a massive change, and it's, I think, one of the hardest things to do. But if you can master this, you are guaranteed to lose weight. So only eat at meal times, and try and go from one meal to the other without snacking. And again, consciously set yourself up to do that in your head. You are not going to snack between meals. Snacking, our bodies don't need the nutrition. It releases endorphins and it makes us feel good, and that's why we do it. We're actually addicted to it. So if you can recognize that your body doesn't need that nutrition, then you don't need to do it. Then you've just got to be firm with yourself, and you've got to retrain yourself to go from one meal to the next. So my advice is occupy yourself. You know, if you're feeling the munchies coming on, have something to do. Give yourself a challenge or a task to do. And on your meal times, make sure you do like put fat on your food, like butter on your veg. You cook with healthy oils. You have something like a steak that's satisfying, and actually you're not hungry, and therefore you don't need to snack. Good advice, which I've said before, is in your journal, have a page where you write things to do if you feel like you're going to start snacking, and have a list of at least 3 things. So it could be call a friend, it could be take the dog for a walk, it could be have a soak in the bath, but you have to do these 3 things before you eat that snack. And you'll find after you've achieved these things, you don't want that snack, because you feel quite good that you've achieved and set yourself something to do and you've done it. But finally, just in case you cannot resist and you know you're going to go and eat something, have keto-friendly snacks in the fridge ready or in the cupboard. So this beef biltong that I get from Tesco, it's 100 calories and it's 1 point something grams of carbs. It's not going to do too much damage. It takes ages to eat because it is dried beef and it's chewy. That would be a good go-to for a snack if I really couldn't resist. Boiled eggs in the fridge, maybe a handful of walnuts. You've got to be careful with nuts because they add your fats up very quick, and they take your calorie allowance for the day very quick as well. So you've always got to weigh and measure nuts. And another big go-to for me is sugar-free jelly. Hardly any calories in it, 0.5 I think it is carbs. You know, it's a good go-to to have, so always have a jelly in the fridge. It's a nice pudding for after your dinner, you know, it just fills you up. It's bulky, but there's hardly anything in it. So if you really must snack, make sure you are prepared with low-calorie, keto-friendly snacks. So number 7, find your bridge. So what's a bridge? It follows on from snacking. What is going to see you through from one meal to the next? That's 0 calorie. The goal is no calories between meals, allowing your body to use up what you've eaten and actually, you know, use everything up rather than constantly feeding it. So you need a bridge. You need something to help you get from one meal to the next. So mine is black coffee. I drink it all day up to about 4 p.m. Then after that, I drink bottled plain fizzy water. And I put a few flavour drops in, which I'll show you in a minute. But what can be your bridge? What do you enjoy drinking? You can have a little bit of cream in your coffee, but the idea is 0 calories. So try and just go cold turkey. Whatever your drink is, just try it without anything in. Try it black, tea, coffee. Your taste buds change so much that after a week or 2, you might just find you actually enjoy it more. But you need to find a bridge, whether it just be plain water, very, very low sugar drinks. But you've got to be careful with the diet drinks because a lot of the sugars in them are not good sugars. They're not good for your body, and they can affect your insulin. So again, it's understanding what you can and what you can't have and how it affects you. I drink 0 calorie water. I drink a bottle of fizzy water later on in the day and in the evening, and I put these in. They're called Flav drops, and just 2 drops will flavour the whole bottle and give it a raspberry flavour. I really enjoy those. But you need that bridge that will really help you get from one meal to the next, and you need plenty of your supplies in, and you need to make this a habit. So it's something you've got to work on the early days and consciously make the effort to have the drink instead of the food, and keep doing it until it becomes second nature and you've built a habit. So find your bridge and practice making that part of your day to help you get from one meal to the other. Number 8, try intermittent fasting. You'll may see it on keto websites and on YouTube. It's called IF. It's not something I recommend in the early days. Please don't try going straight into fasting when you're just adjusting to keto. But maybe when you're a month in, 2 months in, you could introduce a little bit of intermittent fasting. This has been my biggest weight loss tool. It actually happens naturally, so don't panic if you think, oh, I can't fast. Really don't panic. One of the changes you'll see with following a ketogenic lifestyle is lack of appetite. And that's another sign when you know you're in ketosis. You are not hungry all the time. And it's because the foods you're eating are processed differently. And they're not spiking your insulin all the time. And that's what gives you your insulin drops and you feel hungry again. And that's why we're constantly snacking. You have a natural lack of appetite when you're in a ketogenic state. So it's a great time, once you know what you're doing, you're in a good routine, to introduce intermittent fasting, and it will happen naturally. I more or less guarantee it. Most people on the keto diet drop from 3 meals a day, so breakfast, lunch and dinner, to 2 meals a day. Most people just drop breakfast because they're not hungry. They practice a little bit of intermittent fasting and they try and go to lunchtime before they eat. That happens naturally. I actually, Monday to Friday when I'm working and I'm really, really busy, I only have 1 meal a day, which is called OMAD, 1 meal a day. Again, I'm not hungry, I'm busy all day, and it's a very nice side effect of the diet, but it's a really strange feeling when it first happens. You think, I'm not hungry. I really am not hungry. You have a lot more time to do things. But that's a good time to introduce intermittent fasting. It's really good for your body. It really helps if you're diabetic. It really helps with those insulin levels. And my insulin has gone from a diabetic range to normal. I've been doing keto for 6 months and I do practice intermittent fasting. I don't eat before the afternoon, and that's really, really helped. Your insulin levels are, are level. Your blood sugars are normalised. And you're using up what you're eating. You have a meal, you use it up, you're not constantly snacking. But you need to do your own research as to whether it's right for you or not. And there's only really one guy that I'd recommend you go and watch on YouTube. He's called Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G, and he is an expert on fasting and why it's so good for your body. So please go away and do your own research. But number 8, intermittent fasting is a fantastic weight loss tool. So number 9, my next hint and tip is exercise. Don't run away, please don't be frightened. Let me just specify, you do not have to exercise on the ketogenic diet to lose weight. You will lose weight whether or not you exercise. I've done a whole video on the reasons why you should exercise, and I'll link it at the end, then you can go and watch it. And I've seen stories of people lose 100 pounds and never do any exercise. I have done a whole video on why you should exercise, and it's not about toning up, it's not about losing more, burning more calories and losing more weight. It's about the feel-good factor, and that is really important to stay on track. So positive mental attitude is the most important thing you will get from doing something. Exercise, when you go out and do something, you get back and think, oh, I feel great. It's created by a release of a hormone called BDNF. And there's a lady who has a YouTube channel called Dr. Mindy Pelz, P-E-L-Z. And she says BDNF is like miracle grow for your brain. It's so good for you. It gives you such a rush and such a that feel good factor, which is the reason why you should exercise, because that positive mental feeling will help you stay on track. And you know, it's not about burning the calories, it's about your headspace, and this is the most challenging part of any diet. So exercise is really, really good for that. So what I want you to think about is, in your journal, setting yourself a small achievable goal. Now, you don't have to go out and buy all the kit and go jogging. I started cycling in the summer. I haven't done much recently because the weather's not very good. But you know, it can be a simple short walk. If you're not used to walking for 5 minutes, it's a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk. It could be dancing around the living room to some music. Just write a goal in your journal and try and achieve that goal in your first month. By setting yourself a small challenge and doing it, you will also experience that positivity of achieving something else, and it all helps to stay on plan. Positive mental attitude, exercise, small goals will all help you stay on plan. So that's my number 9 for you. And finally, my number 10 tip is track. Again, it could be the number 1 tip, because if you do not track what's going in your mouth, you will not be successful on keto. It's so easy to overeat on anything and have too many calories and too many carbs. So everything that you eat, you should track. And my biggest hint and tip for that is to track before it goes in your mouth, not after, because that could have already put you over your allowance for the day. So how do you know? 20 grams of carbs a day is round about the figure that most people quote. When I started off my diet, because I was 50 pounds heavier, I think I could eat about 26 grams of carbs a day. But how do I know if I'm having 26 grams? Unless I weigh and measure and track what I'm eating before I eat it to make sure I've not gone over. So you've got to track. And if you're not a person that likes tracking, you need to start building that as a habit. And before you eat is important. I've seen so many posts on Facebook pages that, oh, I ate this and I didn't realise it had so many carbs in, and now I'm over for the day. So no, that's no use. You're not going to lose weight following that. You know, as a practice, you need to start tracking before you eat. I have done a whole video on how to get started on the keto diet, and there is a whole section on how to track. There are some apps you can use on your phone or on a computer or on an iPad. MyFitnessPal and Carb Manager. I use Carb Manager, and in my how to get started video, which I will link in at the end, there's a whole section on how to set yourself up on Carb Manager and how to put your foods in so you can track whether you're within or had too many of either your carbs, your protein or your fats. If you overeat on fats, you're not going to lose weight. So you need to track everything that goes in your mouth. You also need a good set of measuring spoons, so tablespoons, teaspoons, so you know you're having. We've got a set of normal cutlery, and they're massive compared to an actual tablespoon. So a good set of measuring spoons, a good set of cups. If a recipe calls for 1 cup, it's not a big mug in your cupboard, it is actually a 250ml cup. And a good set of scales. And the other thing that I suggest you track more than anything is your measurements. In your journal, you write your measurements. I've got mine in mine, and once a month, no more than that, once a month, I redo my measurements and I write down what they are. And that is the biggest motivator to watch yourself going down in clothes sizes. And your weight is almost not as important as that, because keto is a bit of a strange one where you can actually put weight on one day. I had a week where I fell off the wagon. It was only for about 24 hours. And maybe a little bit into the next day, and I gained 7 pounds, because as soon as you start eating carbs, your body holds water. But the following week I got straight back onto keto, and the following week I lost 9. Well, they're just silly numbers, aren't they? So your weight, don't go by your weight, go by your measurements. As long as your body is shrinking, then the diet is working for you. And the last thing really about tracking is beware of the recipes you'll find if you're doing research. Recipes for keto cheesecakes, recipes for puddings, and you think, oh, that'll be nice. But when you put them into your tracker, you realise how many carbs are in them. You then have to practice portion control. I can't do it. I know if there's a cheesecake in the fridge that I'll keep nibbling at it, and therefore that will put me over my daily allowance. So my advice is you track all your food, you track your measurements, you track your weight, and in the early days you do not make these fake recipes. Just stick to the basic, good, wholesome foods like chicken breasts and the meats and vegetables and your salads, and don't think about baking until you're well into the keto diet and you're well on your way with your journey. And then you have to practice portion control. So a lot of recipes will use almond flour and coconut flour. They're really high in carbs. So if you're baking something, you've got less to have with your meal, and you really want to be filling yourself up with your meals because you've got so many new things to practice, like going from one meal to the next. And if you're just having a tiny bit of cheesecake and you've used your carbs up, you're not going to be full. So forget the fake recipes, track your good, wholesome, basic foods, use your vegetables and your proteins and your fats to fill yourself up, and you won't fail. So track is so important. And my final thing, and just a bonus tip really, is if you do fall off the wagon, don't beat yourself up and don't let that negative feeling make that continue. You know, this diet works, it's scientific. Your body has to burn fat for fuel if you don't give it carbohydrates. So just get straight back onto it, put it behind you, draw a line in the sand, and what you'll find is you learn so much about yourself. I've learned that I'm an emotional eater. I eat if I'm stressed, and I keep this in my journal, and I'm learning all the time about myself. But I'm also learning that when I fail, I can pick myself up and get back onto it, but I can strategize so that I don't make the same mistake again. You will learn so much about yourself and about your eating habits and about what your body needs on this diet. Document it and then recognize the signs and learn how to deal with them, and it will just make you a much stronger person and much more successful person. So there's two other videos. There's a video on what you can eat, and there's a video on how to get started, which lists all the basic things you need to actually be successful on the diet. And then you've got this video, the hints and tips. So all of those together, there's no reason why you should fail. You should be very successful. Happily help anybody if I can do. If you want to put any comments in below, and good luck, you know, all the best. If you're embarking on a New Year's diet, let me know how you get on and whether this has been useful to you, and good luck on your journey. And I shall continue my journey. I'm not at my goal weight yet, so in the new year I will continue doing weekly updates on what my weight is this week, what kind of week I've had, whether I'm going to set myself a challenge and share my success on, or even failure, but hopefully success on those. So please subscribe to the channel, watch my updates. I try and put as much information out there as I can to help other people. So hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Bye.